Breaking moments ago, Chris Van Hollen, the Maryland senator leading the Democrats' charge to bring an alleged gang member back to the United States, just announcing on X that he met with Kilmar Abrego Garcia in El Salvador. The senior national correspondent Kevin Cork live in D.C. with the breaking information on this. Kevin, good evening.
Quite a story. Evening to you, Trace. As one user on X put it tonight, why was Chris Van Hollen having drinks with an alleged wife-beating gang member, illegal alien, when there are victims of illegal migrant crime in his state who could, frankly, really use his support? But that's 2025 politics in a nutshell, say critics, who point to the Democrats' meeting with Kilmar Abrego Garcia today, who, for what it's worth, appeared fairly relaxed as the two men met for what looked like coffee and water, perhaps more. Van Hollen says he wants to help Garcia return to the U.S. to be with his family. The White House says it's up to the El Salvadoran officials to clear the way for such a return, which doesn't look likely tonight. Meantime, the U.S. and the EU will absolutely strike a trade deal. That, according to President Trump, who said as much today as he welcomed the Prime Minister of Italy to the White House.
Oh, there'll be a trade deal, 100%. Oh, why you think there won't be? Of course there'll be a trade deal. Very much. We're in a rush. You have to understand we're getting right now 25% on cars, 25% on steel, 25% on aluminum. We're getting a 10% baseline.
Georgia Maloney's country, one of the more than 75 nations that have reached out to the U.S. following the administration's tariffs launched back on April the 2nd. Now, the original plan was to slap 20% duties on all goods from the EU, but there's been a 90-day pause to give countries like Italy a bit of a reprieve, though 10% duties still apply, notwithstanding those tariffs for cars. By the way, the president, Trey, says he'll visit Italy in the near future for more talks. Sounds like a trip I should be on. Back to you.
Does indeed. Kevin Cork live for us in D.C. Kevin, thank you. Let's bring in political strategist and podcast host Tiffany Marie Brannon, along with former GOP national spokesperson Elizabeth Pipko. Thank you both for coming on. Elizabeth Pipko, to you first. The breaking news, Chris Van Hollen, the Maryland senator, met with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He put some of these pictures up there. These are posted by the senator. It looks like they were having coffee and water. There's something in a glass that's got a cherry on it. You can see right there. So I'm not sure exactly what they were drinking, but the senator posted this on X, quoting, "I said my main goal of this trip was to meet with Kilmar. Tonight I had that chance. I have called his wife, Jennifer, to pass along his message of love. I look forward to providing a full update upon my return." I mean, again, ignoring the gang status, ignoring the fact that he's been accused repeatedly of beating his wife. And it seems like Senator Van Hollen is a fan of this person, Elizabeth.
It does. Look, you said ignoring the gang status. You know who else he's ignoring? He's ignoring his own constituents. I have to be honest, I think this entire thing is incredibly strange. I think it comes down to the fact that Democrats, for nearly 10 years now, have done nothing but try to gain wins against President Trump. They have nothing left but to try to prove him wrong, to try to rally against him in any way, shape, or form, even if that means stooping this low, leaving your own constituents behind who elected you to the office that you hold, to go and meet with someone who is accused of being a part of a terrorist gang. It is incredibly strange, especially considering the fact that Democrats have no leadership, no movement, no mission, and no plan going into the midterms or into 2028.
Yeah, and we should note that the El Salvadoran president here, Bukele, he put the following on X, quoting here, "Kilmar Abrego Garcia miraculously risen from the death camps and torture, now sipping margaritas with Senator Van Hollen in the tropical paradise of El Salvador." You have more Democrats, Tiffany, that are saying they want to go down to El Salvador to see if they can bring him home. And the Hartford County, Maryland sheriff said this today about that.
1,000%. Yes, indeed. 1,000%. You know, and not only that, he's no doubt, and he's a domestic violence abuser, and he's been through removal proceedings before, and they asked for him to be removed, and yet he was still here. So kudos on the Trump administration for removing a criminal. Horrible on Senator Van Hollen for wanting to bring him back.
He said 1,000% a couple of times. The question was, is he a gang member? He said 1,000%. The Democrats apparently latched on to another losing topic.
They did. And, you know, as angry as I am, I'm really heartbroken, Trace. I'm heartbroken because There are Americans who are being assaulted, raped, and murdered. Meanwhile, American politicians are defending a criminal, illegal, wife-beating gang member. 56% of Americans believe these deportations are good. They support them. It's sick.
Yep.
And more than that, instead of talking about this fake Maryland man, we need to be talking about real Maryland woman, Rachel Morin, and the fact that she has now 5 children that will grow up without a mom because of the policies instituted by Democrats.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute coming up. Meantime, here's President Trump and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. They said the following. Watch.
I'm sure we can make a deal, and I'm here to help on that. I think the best way is that we simply speak frankly about the needs that every one of us has and find ourselves in the middle. That's useful for all.
We're going to have very little problem making a deal with Europe or anybody else because we have something that everybody wants. You know what that means, right? We have something that everybody wants.
The president sounds very confident, Elizabeth Pipko. Are you as confident?
You know, I am as confident, and I have to be honest, Trace, the fear-mongering on these trade deals is like nothing I've ever seen. I'm even upset, despite living through this for the last 10 years. I'm actually shocked that those in the media are still considering this tactic, knowing what it's done to the American people, knowing how divided they are by these mischaracterizations of Donald Trump's actions, of his statements in the media over the last decade. The fact is, negotiations like these take time. The American people have full faith in Donald Trump. That's why they put him back in the White House, and they know that when he's negotiating, whether with allies or with adversaries, he's going to put the American people first, and that may take time, but it's going to work out in the end.
Nate Silver says in AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to be the leading Democratic candidate in 2028.
If there's one thing that we have learned about the Democrats, is that they believe in good branding over good policies.
Yeah.
And this is a very good brand. AOC is a great brand. She's basically a Saul Alinsky disciple who understands how to work the media.
Social media. She's great on social media, but she's got no political chops, and that's the thing that worries a lot of people. But you know, the truth is, a lot of Republicans are like, go! Go AOC!
Oh, I would pay money to have her and have her choose like Jasmine Crockett as a running mate and then watch her debate J.D. Vance.
Oh.
It would be incredible. We would sell tickets.
All right. Tiffany, Elizabeth Pipko, thank you both.
Thank you.